Hello, happy Thursday. I hope everybody's having a really good week so far. Mine got off to a bit of a rough start, but I think things are on the mend. So there we go. So I wanted to hop on and talk about a couple things. So I've been talking to a lot of people lately, people who I've been meeting, people who are coming in for consults and breakthrough sessions, and I'm getting a lot of scheduled calls that I'm doing over the phone with people all over the place. So it's been really awesome to talk to a lot of these people and, really get a sense of what they need and their struggle and their challenges and all that kind of thing. And I'm finding that there's a lot of people who, say you want change, you're living in pain, but there's that something that's keeping you from taking that next step, right? It's a little scary maybe. And the thing is, to me, it is so much scarier to stay in that pain place than it is to step out of the pain place. And my job, on these calls is to get you to see that, right? But sometimes you just can't. And I want to tell you a little story. So I obviously have done a lot of this type of work myself. And before I'd even heard of this brain-changing type of work, I was really stuck. I was struggling with an eating disorder, with hating myself, low self-esteem, no confidence. I would avoid going out places to social events because I felt disgusting and ugly and fat, and that everyone thought I was gross. I didn't want to be seen. And it was getting worse and worse to the point where I was having anxiety about it. I was not able to do the things I wanted to do. I was crying all the time. And knowing I had to get out of this place, it was just like this heaviness, this weight was on me, right? And I had seen a woman at a networking event who became my coach talking about this process and about how it was content free and it was completely not like therapy, and how she had this crazy success rate. And I thought, okay, I need to talk to her, because the last thing I wanted to do was go to therapy or counseling and just talk about my crap all the time. It made me feel like dying. I was living in it all the time anyways, right? So I started working with her. Well, first I made the decision. And my decision point was that I literally can't live in this anymore. And even if this process makes me feel 50% better, I was in. I didn't feel like I had the time, and I didn't feel like I had the money to commit to it. But I knew I had to make that investment in myself, and I knew because it was hurting my family and it was hurting my son, who was noticing me crying all the time and didn't understand. My husband was going crazy because he didn't know how to help me, and I knew that it was scarier to stay where I was and more awful than to take that risk of healing and getting better. And to me, even though it's scary to make an investment, financially and otherwise, time-wise, you're really putting yourself out there to make that change. I mean, to me it was worth it. And, I would talk to my husband about the financial investment, and he said, you know what, we're going to figure it out, because I don't care what it takes. I want you to be you again, right? And that just gave me that validation. I know not everyone's, partners are supporting, and, that's okay. But it really made me realize, first of all, how bad the problem was. And second of all, that money's money, right? It comes and it goes. And when you really want something, it seems to show up, right? When that thing is right for you, it shows up. I said to one of my calls yesterday, I said to him, I know you can manifest this, right? If this is the right step for you, and this is the work that we need to be doing and that you need to be doing, you're going to be able to make that happen. And I just decided I needed to make this happen, and I did. And so, to me, thinking about a year from then, being in that same place and wasting all that time feeling like garbage. And not being able, at the time I had a personal training studio, and not being able to grow my business because of how awful I felt, having that effect on my son, having that effect on my husband, and living in that for another year. What a waste of time, right? I don't know, just to me, all of that was worth it because I was ready and I know that I needed to change. And, what that coaching did was it actually, inspired me to change my entire life and do this work myself, because I saw the power in it and I saw how it changed me. And every single day I work with clients, I see how it changes them and gives them a new lease on their life. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is, isn't it scarier to stay here in this pain and think about your life a year from now, right? Think about about feeling this way for another 365 days, right? Living in this pain, anxiety, maybe not being able to get over those past relationships. I'm talking to a lot of people who are struggling in their relationships. Maybe having a new relationship and carrying that pattern into the new relationship. Because what we know about the brain is that it makes the bad things really big, right? And it creates these patterns and these neural pathways from past events, right? And so often we unconsciously seek out partners to keep carrying on those patterns that our unconscious mind is quite familiar with, right? So even though consciously we're like, hell no, I don't want that, unconsciously it's like, who can I find that's comfortable like that, right? If we don't cut those patterns, they repeat, right? If we don't cut those patterns of anger and shame and, self-blame or hate, or, I was talking to someone yesterday and there was so much rage, and to carry that with you for another year or another 6 months, like the life you could be living, what you could be doing with yourself, with your energy, right? Because when you're carrying that type of anger and rage at another person, they're still controlling you. They have power over you, right? And even if you feel like that rage is justified, and maybe it was in that moment and appropriate there, totally not something that is appropriate to be carrying through your whole life and maybe through another whole year of your life, right? That to me is terrifying. What's not terrifying to me is investing in my healing and myself, and spending the time and the effort to make that work. And as many of you know, the work I do is super fast, right? So within a couple months, sometimes a couple sessions, you're feeling like a new person. And so I've had people after 4 sessions be like, I am awesome. Let's put this on hold, right? So, and nothing makes me happier. And I just wish that, I guess that more people could see that, right, for themselves. But I get that it's a scary place to be in. And it's really hard to see that for yourself. And, and for a lot of people I'm talking to, I'm a stranger. You don't know me, right? So I totally get that. But I feel like staying in that place is terrifying. And I would love to help you come out of that place. And how do you take that inspired action, right? How do you get to that next step where you're able to invest in yourself and commit? Because the clients that I work with are 100% committed to their healing. And all they have to do is sit there and be open and be led through the process, right? It's super simple. But they have to have that belief in themselves and that desire and that commitment to it, right? Staying where they are has to be worse than moving forward. So how do you get there, right? And say you want to really work with me and you feel like there's a lot of barriers in your way. What I would do, and this is what I did to be able to figure out how I was going to do this process, is I figured, first of all, because I'm super type A, and I'm really like steps, right? And so my challenge is staying away from the how, but that's a whole other video. So what I did is I just made a list, right? So this is how much money I need to get together for this process. These are my options, right? So I just did a brainstorm about how can I piece this together for myself. And then I looked at my schedule. How can I fit this in for myself? How much is the time commitment, right? And then I started to do some journaling about what was really inside and what do I want? Because we're so focused all the time on what we don't want that sometimes it's really hard to think about what we do want. And on a breakthrough call, I try to get the people I'm talking to get into that space. And it's so surprising how challenging it can be. Because often people will tell me a couple things they want and then they'll go right back into that pain place, right? Because it's so hard to see that there's another option for yourself. So I would also recommend doing some journaling here about what I want, right? How do I want to feel? So a year from now, if I commit to changing and do what I need to do, where do I want to be, right? Because where you put your attention to is what grows. We all know that, right? Which is why my process is not like therapy or counseling, because the more you talk about your crap, the bigger it gets in your brain, the more horrible it gets, and you're already living in it. You don't need to be there, right? So keep that focus on what you want. And if you do those things often, your unconscious mind starts to focus now on what you do want, how you're going to get there, how you're going to make it happen, and things start to shift, right? So, if the barrier was financial, you figure out, oh, I have some money there, or oh, I got a new client, I can do this. Or if time was an option, things start to shift, so maybe you have some time, right? Or if your own fear was an option, if your own fear was a barrier about the change happening, or I can't believe this will even work, or I'm too screwed up, it's not going to work for me even though it works for everyone else, those beliefs might start to shift, right? As you're writing about it and as you're focusing on those positive things and what you do want. Maybe you want to wake up in the morning and feel free and excited about the day. Maybe you want to look at your partner lying next to you and feel that intense love that you felt when you first met. Maybe you want to let go of that rage and anger. Maybe you want to trust again. Maybe you want your relationship to work, but you just can't get that trust back. Maybe that's what we need to work on, right? Just getting rid of those old patterns of the past so you can see clearly and start to rebuild that. But you can only do that inside yourself, right? You can only start that change from within. And then that change radiates out to everybody around you and all your situations. So, I even have clients and we start, working on maybe their relationship patterns or their anger or, feelings of shame or whatever. And then, their business starts to do better. And then their friendships get deeper. And, oh, vacation popped up. How cool, right? Because it has this effect, this ripple effect. Because when you get rid of that negative stuff that's blocking you, your flow comes back, right? And ultimately, all we want is to live in a state of flow, right? And happiness and the ability to forgive and move forward, right? So I guess this is just a really long-winded way of me saying to really think about what you want. And think about, are you happy to stay where you are? Because some people are, and that's totally okay, right? But if you're not, and if every day you're living in that problem, and you desperately want things but cannot get there, it's time to really evaluate what's important. Who else is this problem hurting? Who is that radiating out to? And is it worth investing in yourself a little bit, taking a couple of months and just getting through it, right? Let's just do it. Get through it. So yeah, try that inspired action. please reach out to me if you have any questions. You can messenger me and we can chat a little bit. I'm always happy to do a breakthrough call. Sometimes I do have a waiting list for these calls. They're very popular, so I would advise you booking it quickly if you want quick talk, because I'm also going to be off for most of next week. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I would love to help you if you're in that place where you're ready. Have a great day.